Hey, I got a quick question for you. Are you showing up as the expert authority in your business, making sure that your message is on point and your branding is reflective of your go-to authorityness? Hi, I'm Christine Blosdale, your expert authority business coach, and I have a way for you to rate your expert authority prowess. And you can check it out at expertauthorityquiz.com. It's fun, it's easy, and it's something that you really should be doing to see where you level up. If you want to establish trust with your audience and potential customers and clients, you might want to take this quiz. Once again, head on over to expertauthorityquiz.com. That's expertauthorityquiz.com.
Welcome to Out of the Box with Christine, the podcast for conscious entrepreneurs. Are you willing to step into your greatness? Are you ready to shine? Well, get ready, Truth Seeker. You're in for an amazing ride. And now, here's the host of the show, Christine Blosdale.
Welcome back to Out of the Box with Christine. I am your hostess with the mostest, Christine Blosdale. I am your expert authority coach. And that means simply I help you get the word out about your business, your brand, your book, whatever you're into. And I help you get it out there in the world through videos, through podcasts, through writing a best-selling book, you name it, anything to do with media, then I am your person. And I am super excited today because I think all solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, we all reach a phase in our lives, in our careers, where we go, am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing? Some of us have imposter syndrome and we say, oh, who's gonna want to hire me? Who's gonna want to be interested in me? And then others, we have the scarcity mindset where we think that there's not enough to go around and we panic over getting new clients, new customers, the bottom line, how much money we're bringing in, all of that good stuff. And so I thought it would be really great today to talk about a few of those issues, but also to let you know everything's all right. Everything's okay. And my guest today is going to help us just break this all down. My guest today is Jana Stern, who is a sought after spiritual activator, psychic, astrologer, and author of Crystal Grid and Activate Your Chakras. With over 15 years of experience and a certification in life activation, she helps clients understand that they are the guru of their own life by connecting to their inner strength, aligning with their purpose, and embracing self-truth. Known for her grounded, no-fluff approach, Jana has collaborated with folks like Deepak Chopra and played a key role in the JOMO effect, which helped raise over $50,000 for mental health charities. She's also the host of I'm Really Into That Stuff podcast, offering real conversations on personal transformation, and her coaching program, The Resilience Revolution, has helped hundreds find peace. So we're going to find some peace today with my special guest, Jana. Welcome to the show, Jana.
Thank you so much for having me. What a fun intro that was. Top that, folks.
That's right. Now, prior to hitting record, we were like dissecting each other's what we are astrologically, and yes. I said I have 5 planets in Scorpio, and you did not run. Thank you very much. And
no, I leaned in.
And you're a Pisces, so we're water signs. This episode is going to be magic.
Yeah, everybody's going to cry. Please don't cry. I'm just kidding. But yeah, I love a water sign. I love Scorpios. I love people theoretically.
Do you? I'm glad somebody does.
Not all people. Not all people. I love people in theory, but yeah, I think we're all something. We're all everything, really. And the people who are quick to be like, you're a this or you're a that, whether it's in your chart or it's something that you believe politically or something else.
Yeah.
All of that is utter bullshit.
Yes. Yes, it is.
we're all everything, right? The things that people are like, oh, Scorpios, they're the worst. I'm like, look at your whole chart and observe where you're blocked because there's a house that you're not expanding in that has probably ruled by Scorpio. So,
Yeah. Well, because people think that the sign that they're born under, like, you're a baby, you're in November 4th. Hello.
Yeah.
You're a Scorpio. But they don't realize that there's other signs in planets that when you chose to come here and reincarnate, or whatever you wish to call it.
Yes.
There's the moon, and where the moon is very important, because that's like your emotions, right? Emotional thing. And then all the other ones, rising. So it's not just your, what do they call it? Your house,
sun sign.
Your sun sign. It's not just about your sun sign. Can you just talk really quickly about that, about what all the other planets have to do with you?
So I mean, astrology has been used for millennia as a map for us to follow as a species. And where your map is from the first moment that you took a breath. And at the time that you took that breath in this incarnation, not in the but in the actual of now, all of the planets, like you were saying, were up there, including the moon and the sun and all of the other things. So the sun was in Scorpio at the time of your birth, but the moon, well, your moon was also there. And so were a whole bunch of other things.
Yeah.
Yeah. But for others, it's different, or for everyone, I should say, it's different. And so, each of the different planets and luminaries, the moon and the sun, those are called luminaries, represent different parts of our archetype as humans. So Mercury is how you communicate. It's how you think, which is why when Mercury goes retrograde, all of our technology, how we communicate, breaks down.
Yeah.
Venus is how we love and our femininity. Mars is how we take action and our masculinity. It's also war and the energy.
Yeah.
Jupiter is how we expand. Saturn is how we experience boundaries. It's the patriarchy. It's the end, as it were, because once upon a time it was the end. Uranus is that eureka, aha, something bigger is bigger than what we thought. Something beyond Saturn. How wild is that? It's also technology, because we found it through the telescope. And before the telescope, we didn't know Uranus existed, which is wild. And then Neptune is the great beyond. It's the infinity. It's the dreams. It's the mermaids and, woo, weird, witchy stuff. And Pluto is our collective karma, right? And then there are all kinds of asteroids and all these other things. And each of them move through the sky. And it's not just about where are they, but it's the specific degree. Where are they? Every degree matters, even the minute of the degree. So the degree of the degree matters.
That's why it's important to know your birth, not just your birth date, but the time in which.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay.
That's right. And the location, which is what determines your rising sign. So somewhere at the time of your birth, that sun was coming up. And so depending on where you were, what is it on the axis, right?
Right.
Because time is fake. Time is just where we are when we are, right? We are here now. And so here is now is here, right? But wherever we were, there is the sun is rising, things are happening, things are occurring, and things are, of course, occurring up there in the stars. And so there's so many different facets to who we are. And we have not even gotten into how the rising sign breaks down the whole chart into different houses, different parts of your life, right? Yourself, your mother, your journeys, your business, how you relate to other people's money, how you relate to your money. All of these different things are all broken down in the chart, and they're literally written there in the stars. And so how we are experiencing reality varies literally from person to person, depending on how these archetypes show up. What signs are they in? What house are they in? At what degree? What aspects? How are they speaking to other planets in your chart? Right? And all these different things. And then, of course, add in on top of it, where are they currently transiting? Where is Venus today? Where is Mars today? And how is that affecting your natal chart? And then we can get into things like progress charts and how things evolve over time, how your chart evolves over time, and on and on. And we haven't even scratched the surface of human design and the I Ching and other things like that add more magic into this possibility of knowing thyself,
Damn, girl, you know your stuff.
Sometimes.
I've interviewed several times, and I like her. She's a funky lady. I think it's Susan Lerner, who did back in the day, back in America Online days, did I think the Astrology Zone, and she's a hoot. but
Cool.
you challenge her on this. I mean, you're up there on your knowledge on this stuff. This is
That's very kind.
No worries. Now we had, in the beginning of our conversation too, you had dropped this. You mentioned it, and I was like, oh, I need to come back to that. Something about how we are all connected, right? All one. Now I know, because I've read your bio, that you had a interesting experience. Now I myself have had a near-death experience, and I've talked to people who have had near-death experiences. But can you talk about your particular, if you feel comfortable sharing that with the audience?
Sure, of course.
But about that moment in time and what happened?
Yeah. So trigger warning. When I was in my 20s, I tried to kill myself. I had gone through a series, I call it my forgetting. So my father is schizophrenic, and he has been my entire life. And I've spent most of my life navigating what it means to have a parent that is like that. And anybody who has parents that suffer with any kind of mental health, whether it's depression, alcoholism, addiction, more quote advanced mental health issues, whatever it might be, you kind of know that you grapple with who you are because you know that you come from them, but you're not them.
Yeah.
And so I had a really hard time in my teens and my 20s grappling. I had put him outside of my life. I had created boundaries where it was just too cyclically unhealthy. And so I stepped back. And in doing so, I had a lot of suffering. I had an eating disorder. I had, depression. They labeled me my own bipolar, and they're like, no, it's not that. It's borderline personality. And I was like, borderline of what? And I couldn't handle it. And so I tried to take my life, and I was gone for 11 minutes. I was on the other side with my ancestors and having a conversation, and they offered me the choice, do I want to come back or not? And I made the choice that I in fact did want to. And here I am almost 20 years later. Yeah.
And interesting too, that you had that option, that you had that choice. Because I found in my near-death experience, I had the same thing. I was given from the voice, whatever that is, the thing, the voice, the option after a very quick, like carousel slideshow of what my decision would have been if I had passed, right?
Right.
And the thing is that before I was asked that, and before I was even shown the ramifications of what my decision would be, I was, for that moment, connected to everything.
Yes.
I mean,
yes,
the water, because I was in the ocean, and it was I should have been gone. It was connected to the ocean.
Glad you're not.
Thank you. Me too.
Yeah.
I was connected to the rocks, to the trees, to the birds, to the bees, to everything. And and words do not even convey that feeling.
Not at all.
And how beautiful it is. It's almost as if I had finally started living at that moment where I was facing my own demise, my own death. And I've never felt anything like that ever. That beautiful connection, that oneness, and you realize that we are a part of everything. And so I wanted to know, I'm asking the question and I know the answer, but did you experience that as well? And do you have a better way of communicating what that feeling is like?
I did experience it. And I think, the feeling of it is, I often call it like this longing for home, a home that we don't get to experience that much here in these physical vessels. We get really busy with what it is to be human, and we forget what it is that we're actually physically incarnated for, which is to connect with the birds and the bees and the trees and the water and the rocks. And so for me, it was really like, it is hard to put it into words. It was a kind of serenity that felt like my entire soul had the exhale that it needed. Like if I've been holding this tension in my shoulders. It's like I just had a universal like massage from God to just be like, yeah, okay, let it go. You're good now. And I was like, oh, that kink in my back that I was feeling for the first 20 years of my life, it seems like it's gone. I mean, it took a little while for me to go to therapy and actually really work out the kink. But yeah, it was for me something that's why I meditate. Because like I won't go back there until the time comes that I go back there for good. God willing, I don't really want to have another near-death experience. If I'm meant to, I will. But yeah, I don't think I'll feel that again. So I'm just searching for it in my daily practice with being alive of like, how do I get to like a
teeny tiny, right?
Yeah, like a bite-sized version, or like even just, if the thing is earth size, I'll take just the ant of it. I'll take whatever, just the breath of it,
Mushroom tea sometimes can do that.
But say that louder, girl. Give me the mushrooms.
I'm just saying. And the thing is too, is it changes you, right? I mean, not only did it change me in how I sort of looked at the world, but it also made me it made me not afraid of
yes. I'm not afraid of death at all. And it freaks people out.
Yeah.
And I also have the gift of mediumship. And so that really freaks people out because I don't fear death even a little bit. And I think that actually like it comes for all of us, and the way that we relate to it, certainly in Western mentality, there are places on this planet where they relate to death in really beautiful ways. And they just sort of let that it comes and it goes, and we come and we go, and it is what it is. But we get so stuck in the doing and we don't live in the being.
Yeah.
So we separate from it a lot. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. When I had that moment of, and it was, for me, time stood still, which was also a trip, because I was like, okay, this is really nutty, because everything is suspended, right?
Could you see yourself?
I could see myself only from the vantage after time stopped, because everything was happening I was in Costa Rica. It was beautiful, fucking Costa Rica.
Oh, that's my heart's there.
It's so gorgeous. Yeah. And I was learning how to
it's a good place to die.
Yeah.
And live, by the way.
It's gorgeous. It's pura vida, as they say.
Yeah, pura vida.
Sí. Pura vida. And I was just learning how to boogie board, and I was a huge swell, decided to come as I was just learning, and basically got picked up by the boogie board, just lifted up on this wave. And when I looked down, one of the reasons why it's a great wave is it's a left and a right is because there's a flat rock and then there's jagged rocks behind it. And so when I looked down, I could see the rock was exposed, massive flat rock. And I thought, oh, okay, I am going to, my head, your mind is just going a gazillion miles an hour. I am going to be thrown on my back into this flat rock and then shoved into these jagged rocks, which will break my head open and I'll be dead. Okay. So as that happened, mid wave, as I was lifted up, that's when time stopped. Yes. And I'm holding onto the board, and like drops of water are just, touching my little forehead, drip. And I'm looking around, and I was like basically asked, are you ready to go? And I looked around and I got that connection to everything, that universal oneness. And I said, well, this is pretty cool. Yeah, I think I could go this way. And I was very young too. I was 21.
Oh, maybe, wow.
Maybe 21. And I said, sure. And then it was that real quick flash. This is what's, in moments in your life that also come to you that I found weren't the big moments, right? They weren't the
never
big
are.
Birthday party. They were, the feeling of, as a little kid, putting my hand in my grandma's cookie jar.
Right.
Little weird moments, falling down and scraping my knee. And
getting your hair played with by somebody that you care about.
These little things. And then it says, and it was like, okay, now this is what will, happen. And what flashed was my mom my mother, who loves me, she's since passed, but I always say loves and not loved. Okay.
Yes.
I saw a visual of her finding out on the news that her daughter had died in Costa Rica, in hit. And what was weird is that my sister had actually, in reality, had passed at the age of 2 in an incident where she had hit her head, and then she had ramifications for that. She passed away at the age of 2. My mother, it just tore my mother apart. So I was like, fuck no, I can't go this way. If I went by fire, by a car accident or something like that.
If somebody battle axed me, we could live with that.
But I said, this will destroy her, and it was like, are you okay? Are you sure? It asked me again, are you sure? And I said, fuck yeah, no, you can't do this to her.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, well, now you made that decision. Now you've got to fight for it a little bit. And I literally, time went back into place, and I had to fight because the boogie board was attached to my wrist and it was being sucked into the wave. And so I had to literally like pull it out. And it was the moment where it changed me on so many different levels, because number one, I was given the choice, right? And that our actions, even in that situation, have ripple effect, have ramifications, right?
Massive.
And so when I was checking up on you before we did the interview, and I was looking at your website, you were saying too that the things that we do and say and think have a ripple effect. Can you talk about that a little bit? Because I think that's very powerful. People need to know.
Yeah. First of all, I want to say your mother is very grateful that you made that choice.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that it's exceptional to be that kind of selfless for her. Yeah. So she was very clear. She was like, let her know. I was like, I'll remind her. She already knows. Yeah. We are there is an everythingness that we are from, and it's in everything. And actually there is literally, from a scientific perspective, when we dial into frequency and sound, and the understanding that sound happens in waves and time happens in waves, and all of humanity, we are a wave of light, we are particles, in a wave, in a particle, in a wave, in a particle. And we are all this experience of frequency that happens to be resonating in physical body. And by the way, so are the birds and the trees and the things. We're formulating our reality literally to look the way that it looks every day. You wake up and your bed looks the same, your bedroom looks the same, and your plants are where you left them, and your couch is exactly the same couch that you have sat on, because we need it to be in this world. We need it to be in order to keep going through whatever this school is of Earth.
Right.
And beyond the physical, though, there is something so much more powerful that we are a part of. And, it gets labeled lots of things, right? Some people call it spirit or God or universe or source. But really what it is this like vibration, this everything and oneness, this all oneness that we're connected to. And it's not until you have those moments, if you have them, and not everybody does, where you feel that for a millisecond you're outside of it. And in that time that you're outside of it, suddenly you're like, oh, that's the reason we're here. That's why we're doing this. And getting to choose that and making it a choice is the most empowering thing that you can do for yourself. And being somebody who chooses that on purpose, in my opinion, literally is a revolution, which is why I have the program that I have. Because to be able to say, I am alive, and I am alive on purpose. And I'm not alive to just like really watch the best Netflix show, but that doesn't mean that I'm not going to watch the best Netflix show. And I'm not alive to like grind all day at this job that I hate, or grind all day at this job that I love. right? But I'm really here to like stop and listen to how the bee sounds when it buzzes by. And I'm here to actually like stop and tune in to the buds as they're coming on the trees, and to be in the vibration of what it feels like when I do get to hug my mom, or be with somebody that I care about, or have a conversation that brings me to a new awareness of myself or the world or reality, or to even like tune into a podcast like this where I can go someplace else. That's what the purpose of being alive is. And if you live that way on purpose, then you are literally rebelling against the whole system that says, no, the purpose is for you to make a lot of money, or no, the purpose is for you to, live this way, or have these things, or buy this kind of car, or have these, whatever it is, the bullshit. And so, yeah, there's like a real serious thing that we are part of. It's not even serious. It's actually quite playful and fun and enjoyable and pleasant and full of pleasure, right?
But I think where the seriousness comes in is when there's that dichotomy where what you're explaining and expressing is one vibe, energy, feeling, and then what we shove ourselves into these vessels where we compare ourselves to other people, we worry about what other people think, we say I'm this age, so I need to be at this place in my life. And this is why especially for entrepreneurs, conscious entrepreneurs and solopreneurs and things like that, it can be a battle, right? It's a conflict, right? The outside world is saying that I need to do this, but the inside world of me is something else, is yearning for something else. So can you, for those folks who are, and they don't have to be solopreneurs or entrepreneurs, they could just be anybody dealing with that, can you give some words of wisdom, or maybe some tips on things that you can suggest that people do to help that process, and to help calm the nerves a bit down? Like, because we are living, you look at the outside world. Every single time I open my TikTok or I go on social media, I go, what's happening today? Because it's a doozy, right?
Sure is. Turn your phone off, for crying out loud. Everybody's been,
we can do that.
Yeah. And like, if you don't have the strength for that, then at least plug it in overnight, not over your head. Don't let it be the last thing you do. Don't let it be the first thing you do. Let the first thing you do be to be in the here and now of your body in some way. Maybe that means breathing. Maybe that means movement. Maybe that means just spending a minute being conscientious of, hey, here I am alive again. That's cool. Back into the world I go. And now I got a pee, so I'm going to do that and get on with my day. But be intentional, and kind of bring as much intentionality into your life as you possibly can. So that looks like meditating 11 minutes a day will do ya. That's all you need. Set a timer on your phone. There are some great apps, Insight Timer, Calm, CALM, calm.com. It's a great app. So many others that, you can tap in with that can help you to refocus your energy and be in control and be the observer instead of the one who is just unconsciously going about your business, which you think is so important. But I assure you it is not. The things that are important are your grandmother's cookie jar feelings, period.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that you can do is, just be really, really intentional about with whom you spend your time and how you do so.
And also what you absorb.
Yeah, what you consume. You are what you eat. And we are eating a lot of nonsense in our energy fields.
And eating and drinking, but also consuming, like I personally, I can't, I remember even growing up and my friends being like, we're going to go see like Friday the 13th or Halloween, or we're going to go see. And I was like,
thank you.
No, thank you.
Have a great time. Bye-bye. It's not for me. Thank you.
I remember walking out of a Martin Scorsese movie because I was so
disturbed,
the energy, I'm like, I don't need to watch a movie
with violence
and with violence, and to have that in my memory banks, and to have that in my field. I don't even like to watch television because I don't like the energy that comes off of it. Right.
I often say, even if you are not a person who is traumatized in this world, which, like, God bless you if you're not, I don't know how you manage that. Good for you. But even if you're not, if you've only ever watched TV and movies, I promise you, you are traumatized.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. You are a traumatized person.
You are.
So
You are.
what other things would you recommend people do on the daily? Like things, what are things that you do, to
I
help
write.
make your life? Yeah.
Yeah, I
You write.
write.
Oh,
I'm an avid journaler. I get, look, when you are creating things in your mind cyclically over and over and over again and spiraling in those thoughts, and you are stuck in a loop of something that you cannot escape, the only way to do something different is to create something different. So using creative energy is the key. This is why we call God the creator, because creating is the healing of it all. And so, I write all the time. I draw, I paint, I make art. And I said it today, make bad art, because
yeah.
creating is important,
Yeah. I
and
love that.
whatever that art looks like, it doesn't matter. But on the daily, I'm waking up in the morning, I am having those conscious breaths. I'm taking 20 minutes for meditation. I'm moving my body a little bit. I'm nourishing myself with healthy whole foods. I'm not going to the garbage foods. I don't eat like crap because I'm mindful of it. When I do watch whatever it is I watch, I'm super intentional. And even if I'm watching something that feels like, oh, is that good for is that spiritual enough? That kind of vibe. I always like go back to, but everything has a why. Everything has a lesson. Everything has a meaning. So can I go deeper in the why? Can I go deeper in, if my soul is asking for this? I really recently rewatched Lost. That was like a really intense one, that it was really intense. And I was like, why am I watching this? And then I remembered, oh, right. It's because we are all lost on this fucking planet. And there is a message in this here. There is something for me to receive. So can I be in the receiving of it? Just really, really,
Yes.
really being intentional. And then the last thing that I do really, truly every day is I am extraordinarily choosy about, who I spend my time with and how I spend my time.
Yeah.
Time is incredibly valuable. My energy has a value that is extremely high. And so if I'm giving my energy to something, then I better be choosing it from the highest place,
That's why I don't like small talk.
Yes. What's
I can't.
that?
I get very if I'm at a party or in a gathering and people are talking small talk, I get very tired.
Sure.
I could just shut off. My wife always says, she goes, "Oh, you done? Are you done? Because you're not even talking anymore." I was like, "Yeah, well,
it's no longer, I don't need to be here. This person could be talking to anybody. They could be talking,
I know.
It's vapid. I don't need to be in a vapid conversation. Let me go deep. And if you're not going to go deep, I'm going to tune out. Bye-bye.
And when we were talking when we were talking about being very conscious about what we consume, especially with programming, right? Television programming.
Yeah. The television. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yes.
One thing that, I was torn because I thought that the acting and the directing and the photography was so amazing on the series, on the show, on Handmaid's Tale.
Yes.
I thought it was so amazing. But at the same
Yes.
time, inside, I was like, I can't watch this. Because also I do believe that, and probably you were there as well. I believe that in some lifetime I was probably burned at the stake for, like,
oh yeah,
talking back, or,
sure.
I don't know. I lit a candle or whatever.
Yeah.
As so many women. I wish we could all claim that, by the way. I wish we could all remember that shit.
We are.
And then we come back and
we are
go,
remembering it.
We go, you know what? You couldn't get rid of me. So that's why I can't watch The Handmaid's Tale, because the feeling that I get is so horrific.
Yeah.
Right.
It's, yeah.
And I'm seeing it kind of play out in society in many ways.
Well, that's because they're writing it that way. And then as they're writing it, it's coming to fruition that way. And we're collectively observing it. And collectively, it's so popular, such a popular show. And then we're watching it unfold, sort of like Black Mirror. We're like, well, they can't write a new Black Mirror because we're living it. But yeah, no, I get
Black
it. I get
Mirror
what you're
does the
saying.
same thing. It doesn't make me
Sure.
feel good inside. I
Right.
can't watch it. And
Well,
it's really well done. That's the thing. Because my
sure.
my creative side is like, well, that's fabulous writing. But then
Right.
I'm like, I'm terrified. I can't.
Right. My soul thinks that it's being tortured on the inside, and I guess this is great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like that's the function of that media, really. And unfortunately, we are really, really, really programmed to just watch it. And I mean, it's in the collective, right? Oh, did you see this show? It was so good. Did you watch this? Did you see that? Like, I mean, the other day I saw this video of some woman who was just being like screamed at because she hadn't seen some show, and she was like, I have a life, for crying out loud.
What?
Yeah, people are nuts right now. I don't know what's going on. I've been around mental health my whole life, and the world is cray cray right now. Yeah, we're just like, we are actually coming to that remembering, and the way that it's happening is in the individual, just noticing like, I don't want to watch that. And it's funny that you say that about Handmaid's Tale, because I had watched a few of the first few seasons, and then I stopped because it started to feel like I can actually feel what they who are writing this with the negative intentions are taking from me, and I don't consent, actually. Yeah. Thank you so much. So in not consenting, catch me not watching it.
Well, and if you go down that rabbit hole, and I'm sure you have, Jana, and we won't go too far down it.
I live there.
when we know that we are little batteries and we are little energy creating machines, that fear and anxiety and the terror can be harvested. It's very easy.
The Matrix is real.
Yes. And so that's why I try to be very conscious of my energy. And so also even day-to-day things, like if something goes wrong, instead of losing my mind and going, oh, this is the worst thing, or getting angry, I'm like, chill, honey bunny, because you know what?
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be that. It doesn't need to be over the top like that. But that energy harvesting thing, man,
Yes, it's very, 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 very real. And I think we are so unconscious about it, but we're waking up to it. I mean, whatever is going on in the collective with, these people in jail now, and lists and blah, 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 it'll all come to the surface. And I know this. And I'm sitting back with my popcorn, just observing what's going on. But what I do know is that you can engage with any of these things with enough energetic boundaries and sovereignty in a way that does not consent with having your energy harvested, but as an observer of how others are being harvested, how they are unconsciously being taken in a way that you don't even know. And then you can speak to that differently, right? And it's very interesting, just to get like somewhat political for 1 second, in the thread of The Handmaid's Tale. Like, it's fascinating to me. Sovereignty is such an important piece of existence, and body sovereignty and autonomy is so important. And also demonizing an entity or a person or a party, as it were, as being the problem that takes away sovereignty is equally energetically harvesting. It's equally like, oh, I have no power because thing is there, right?
Yeah.
It's a problem. I think it's as big a problem as the problem of how we're being harvested, if you catch my drift.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
It's a school that we're in at the moment of learning these things. And even I remember, looking up in the sky, Los Angeles. I grew up in Los Angeles, but the last few years before I left America, I just remember like looking up in the sky and seeing these planes, like, with stuff coming out of the back of them. And I was like, that's just unusual. It's a lot of planes and a lot of stuff coming out, and the sky would get all kind of icky, and I didn't feel well, and people that I knew didn't feel well.
It's smog. You're like, why are you spraying the smog?
Yeah. No, and I remember there was a certain point where I could feel the fear of that, affecting me, right? And going, what are they doing? How are they hurting us? And then I was like, wait a second. I said, I can still observe it and say, this is happening. But then I can say also, I can be the human cockroach of the world and this will not affect me. But then I took the power back and I said, I was like, is that all you got? Is that
Bingo.
what you are you so scared of
Literally.
us that
Literally.
you need to do that on top of the water, on top of this, so that you got to do the air too and the food. Okay. And I was like, is that all you got? So I flipped the script on it, and it really just empowered me, and it helped me get through those moments where I was like, I feel like there's a big can of Raid being sprayed on me. You know,
I'm yes. I mean, there is a big can of Raid being sprayed on you, but yeah, it's like they're showing me this vision of you, like being burned at the stake, but just laughing, just being like, okay, so I'll leave my body and then I'll come and haunt you. Bye. Like, this is what you're doing. Good choice, I guess. Good choices, guys.
Oh, we could. Girl, we could talk forever. Oh, wait, because about that whole burning at the stake thing. I do want to talk more about that, but I'll do it off the show.
Sure.
Because it's a little too much information for people. I know everybody now is like, what is she talking about? One thing really quickly, and because I was watching on Instagram, you have an Instagram page too. You do these great videos, and we're going to soon see more of you on the TikToks. I know.
Yes.
But this one particular video, you were talking about your crystal. Now, I've got crystals, and I'm sure a lot of people who are listening to this, they've got crystals, right? Different kinds of crystals. And you said your crystals in the bowl, sitting there in a bowl. What are you doing? And I felt really guilty because I was like, my little babies they're all on top of each other in a bowl because it looked pretty. So
sure, but yeah.
So tell us why we should not do that.
Yeah. It's 5:55 as we're speaking where I am. So yeah, crystals are definitely a frequency. They are in our planet. They're like cooking and melting and moving and shaking with the tectonic plates, all these things that we learned about when we were children. We're like, what the hell is a tectonic plate? And then they come out and they're gorgeous, and they're just like these beautiful things that we get to just love and appreciate. And their frequency, their vibration, they are all operating at a frequency. In fact, your computer, your phone, your watch, your pretty much all tech is being fueled by a teeny tiny little quartz crystal. That's why we called them quartz watches in the beginning. And it's what's manifesting everything in our reality are these little teeny tiny crystals, little quartzes. And what's happening when they're all sitting in a bowl is that the energy of them, like we are in resonance with them. We are in reciprocity with them. And everybody all just sitting buried under each other. You can't be like, they're not doing what they're supposed to do because you're not doing anything with them. So, there's lots of ways to clean them, to charge them, to give them back the energy that they came into your life to give you, right? And to be in reciprocity with them. And so, setting them up in grids, setting them up around your house, clearing them out, giving them some moonlight, giving them some sunlight, if not all of them like all of these things, salt, water, salt water, earth, etc., etc., etc. Different crystals like different things, but it's really, really, really important to understand why are those crystals in your life. They're not just pretty rocks. They literally are holding frequency in them, and they have the opportunity to do something for you. And the crystals in this house are exceptionally noisy. I mean, they're exceptionally noisy for me everywhere I go, and they have been since I was a very young child, which is part of where my suicide attempt came from, because hearing voices ain't great when you have a schizophrenic father. But I digress. But what sort of came from all of that is that I can hear them. And so, yeah, I teach and have this workbook that you can download if you want. You can send me a DM with the word crystals and I'll send it to you. And it teaches you how to clear them, how to clean them, how to use sacred geometry, the squares, circles, and triangles of our reality that we think are no big deal, but they're like the first thing that we learn in this reality. And there's a reason for that, because all of those shapes are shaping our entire third dimension that we're stuck in these vessels. And so, yeah, I teach you how to use those sacred geometric shapes and how to work with your crystals in such a way that actually they can do what they're here for. So if you have a piece of rose quartz, for example, just like make it real for you. If you have a piece of rose quartz and you're like, ugh, but my self-love, I still don't love myself. Well, if your rose quartz is sitting at the bottom of the bowl and it's not doing anything, go put it in a place with intention and give it the love and the like energy that it needs, and then watch how engaging with it, picking it up, taking it with you somewhere, gifting it, being with it in a way that is meaningful, sitting with it in meditation, putting it on an altar, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. How does that change your vibration and the way that you resonate with that frequency that is sitting in your home in a bowl, right? So you want to change it up.
I feel bad. I feel guilty. I'm good.
Well, skip that part. That part right just makes you.
No. Right after this, I'm going to pay some attention to my crystals, and I'm going to give them a good place to be. Yeah, I find great comfort in my one large quartz crystal. It's a big one, and I just like to hold it and love it. Yeah. Jana, I could talk to you forever. I feel like we're just like kindred spirits. Totally. We're soul sisters again. Yes. Salem witch trials, things,
Yeah, I'll catch you at the next witch trial.
I'll catch you at the next one, man.
In the next life.
If people want to find out more about you and all the good stuff that you offer, where's the best place for them to go?
Yeah, my website is janastern.com, JANASTERN.com. That's a great way to find me. And then on all the social medias, wherever you want to find me, it's Jana Stern Healer. And I'm always happy to field questions and answer things and go deep and, go there wherever there might be. I love these kinds of conversations and I'm super grateful. This is so fun. Thank you.
Right? It wasn't painful at all.
Not even a little bit.
Oh, awesome. Well, I'll make sure that I put in the show notes a link to your website so people can find you, and do look on all social media and make sure you follow and like, and also comment, like tell Jana if you've heard her on the show, mention it in a comment so she knows that you actually, that it's always a nice feeling when somebody says, hey, I heard you on the podcast and I just really like your stuff. I like who you are. Yeah. So that would be awesome. And if folks want to find out more information, obviously, about this podcast or my other podcasts or the work that I do, the coaching that I do, you can go to expertauthoritycoach.com. That's expertauthoritycoach.com. It has all the information on all of the things that I'm doing and upcoming live events. I'd love to see you. All my goodies are there. So I'll have that in the show notes as well. And again, thank you, Jana Stern, so much. You're welcome back anytime. Just, well, next time I'm in your country or you're in my country, let's meet up. Let's have
I'm
lunch.
In.
Okay.
I'm in.
All right, darling. Thank you again. And thank you, wonderful listeners and viewers, those that are watching on YouTube. Hello, you got to see my wonderful guest. And for those of you listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Audible, make sure you like this show and you maybe even leave a comment. That would be great, or a review. That always helps the algorithms, so to speak. So until next time, as I always say, remember to think outside that damn box. Bye for now.